What's up, y'all? JDB Sports, Jersey Desert Boys, back at it again for part two of the NFL post draft analysis. We did part one last week. We're going to have this all ready to go. We have record predictions, well, my record predictions put up here. We will put them on the big screen when we're all done so y'all can see my final thoughts. Peyton, you may have some differencing records. I'm sure you do. Let's get into it, man. Number 17 at the Raiders needing the running back, which they got Ashton Jeanty. Got the wide receiver. Well, they need wide receiver. They need cornerback, offensive line, and linebacker. Ashton Jeanty was obviously the best pick. Expected to fall to the Raiders in multiple mocks. Give them nice stability at that running back situation. Him, Maybach. Anyways, All Pro Brock Bowers. With All Pro Brock Bowers, the Raiders are really piecing together a great offense. Now time to hire John Gruden back. I don't know. As an offensive quality assistant, I don't know, man. Get him back into it. I love that man's fire on his podcast, John Gruden. I mean, I know he's got some racial background and things like that, and I'm not here to touch on it, but can't say that man doesn't have a fire under his belly, under his stomach, under his ass. Go ahead, get to it. What you thinking about the best pick? Do you think Ashton Jeanty's the best? If so, why? What you thinking?
Yeah, I think they made the right decision. Obviously, you get the best running back in the draft. Can't miss prospect, in my opinion. Further solidifies their offense. They went back-to-back offense with him and Jack Beck out of TCU, someone who's really sure-handed. Kind of reminds me of a Cooper Kupp-esque type, maybe a little less creative on the route running. But, again, super good there. And I think they followed up with a series of immaculate picks. You look at JJ Pegs in the 6th round as a defensive tackle. Sure, that end up. You get 2 offensive tackles in round 3. Charles Grant, one who I was really high on, actually. A really athletic corner, and Darion Porter. And then they went back-to-back QB in round 6 as well. Tommy Mellott, one of a hybrid style QB, actually kind of reminds me of a Julian Edelman situation and Cam Miller. So love them all. How do you feel grade wise about their draft?
I like everybody else on the NFL, or like NFL Network, ESPN. I like their draft. They really fill their needs quite nicely, and with John Spytek and a minority of Tom Brady and Pete Carroll, they're really building something special here that maybe make the Raiders somewhat competitive. This year, I think they go 8-9. I believe that they improved 4 more games this year with the overhaul. It's a step in the right direction. Really, I really don't think that they've gotten worse. I feel like they've gotten nothing but better. The division is going to be really tough this year. I actually don't have Kansas City, winning the division like everyone else does. But we'll see. We'll talk about that one next, actually. If y'all want to get right to it after you tell me your grade and what you think about them.
Yeah, I'd go slightly a little more harsh than you, just an A-. Only reason why is the back-to-back quarterbacks in round 6. I thought they should have went out and gotten a safety, especially you look at RJ Mickens within that range, someone who actually went to the Chargers, who I really liked. We'll get into him in a second, but just thought they could have gotten more value there. But again, that 8-9 prediction as well.
All right, there you go. A-. Dude's harsh on him. Like Miss Hoover is on Lisa Simpson in The Simpsons. If y'all know about that. Anyways, we'll continue. The next team I got on the list at number 18 is the San Diego. Oh, let me stop myself right there. Even though I believe that they are there will always be a San Diego Charger. Los Angeles Chargers. They needed a tight end. They needed wide receiver to help with Ladd McConkey. They need defensive line to replace Puna. I mean, they really did with their free agent additions. Needed a running back and an edge. Marion Hampton, I put a sad face. I said I picked 22. I wanted the Commanders to steal him, but the Chargers get a stable, not a breakaway speed type of guy. He's not going to burn you for 80-yard touchdowns or anything like that. But he's a bruiser that really gives them a good stable back, I believe. I believe can last a long time in this league. I like them getting Trey Harris to give someone else for Herbert to throw to, not named Lad McConkey. They hit all their needs, and I like what they did there. Can't really complain about them. But at the same time, you may think I'm a Chargers fan from the way I'm talking, but rest assured I'm not. Go ahead,
Yeah.
break your team down, player.
Really going to break this one down. A couple picks I had to sit on over the course of a week, watch more film, whole 9 yards, of course, especially with Chargers being my team. But really, really big fan of the first 2 picks going offense back to back. Marion Hampton, like you mentioned, sneaky speed in the open field, actually. I know he's not known for that. However, I truly think he could be a 3-down back in the NFL. Perfect complement to Najee Harris. And then the Trey Harris pick, I've fallen in love with over the course of the last, I feel like 2 weeks. Really good boundary wide receiver, tons of speed, great at the catch point, and a lot of his production. He was the leading receiver in all of college football until he got injured. So really love that there. Couple other shouts real quickly, won't shout them all out, but Kyle Kennard, leading sack leader in the SEC, actually. He gets drafted to us in the 4th round. Think that's a steal. And Oronde Gadsden, the 3rd, tight end of the Syracuse. Really lengthy, kind of like an oversized wide receiver a little bit. Just needs to put on some more weight. But I'll give them a B to a B minus. How do you feel?
I gave them a B plus. I'm giving them a 12-5 record as well, and I think they take the division this year. I enjoyed their free agency. They really went out and went piece for piece as far as replacing guys that they've lost, as well as upgrading. Definitely went out and got Herbert help and reinforced that already stout defense. So can't really complain about it. Love what the Chargers are doing. Let's see what they do next year. I mean, they're probably going to try to feed Marion Hampton with that Greg Roman style offense, but we'll see what it goes. We'll see how it goes.
12-5 is not a bad shout either. I got them at 11-6, but let's move on to the Whams.
The Whams. All right, then. Gen Alpha aside, love you guys. You guys make our world go round. Anyways, linebacker, cornerback, offensive line, tight end, and wide receiver were their needs entering the draft. Josiah Stewart at pick 90, get a disruptive edge here. They really need, the one that they needed. Wish they would have addressed O-line a little bit more. Jalen Carter wreaking havoc on the Rams stopped them from hitting the NFC Championship game last year. Surprised that wasn't in their minds when they were making their draft selections, but I mean, it is what it is. I got them going 11-6. Really good free agency. Partially whiffed in the draft, in my opinion. Feel like it doesn't hurt them too much. Record stays the same as pre-draft prediction at 11-6. Might be right. I just wanted them to go. I give them a C grade. I think they take the division with ease.
Okay.
What you think about the whammity whams?
I don't mind that. Little bit higher on their draft at a B, and I'll kind of explain why. Again, you touched on the Josiah Stewart pick. I thought it was a steal in the 3rd round. I think Terrence Ferguson, tight end in the 2nd round out of Oregon, really fits their offense as well. You look at an offense that's predicated on getting the ball in the middle of the field and working off their playmakers. I feel like Ferguson fits perfectly in there. I think Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss, linebacker in the 5th round, is a great steal for them. And then I'm a really big fan of Ty Hamilton as well. So I got them at 11-6 with a B grade in the draft.
Better than me. Where they hit those Miami Dolphins?
Miami Dolphins.
You want to take it away with your best pick first, and we'll go ahead through it?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to pick the easy one. Someone I really wanted the Chargers to pick, Kenneth Grant. I think it's easily their best pick. You trade up for a Jonah Savainia out of Arizona to play guard, leaving you without a 3rd or 4th round pick. Just a little bit confusing for me with a team with so many needs. In the later rounds, they did solid. Ollie Gordon and Zeke Biggers as well, round 6 and 7. So I give them a C and a 7-10 record. What's your temperature on them?
Dolphins 7-10. I gave them a B record. Like that they shored up the defensive line. 2 out of the 3 first round pick. Getting Quinn Ewers was also a good insurance policy for Mr. Guardian Cap. Could have done a little bit more to address tight end though, but it's a solid, a solid draft. Nothing crazy, nothing popping off the charts. 7-10 is my final record for him though. After the draft,
Yeah, not much movement on that Dolphins front. I don't know. I feel like they're just a boring team to watch this year, despite being one of the high flyers in years past with Tua.
on my board, you guys are not Dolphins. You guys are not last. Just so y'all know, Dolphins fans. So be grateful for that because you could have been put in last place, but it is what it is. We'll go over that later going on. So stick around. Um, all right then. Let's hit them Vikings over at 21. They needed cornerback. Skull, yeah, like this, yeah. Cornerback, offensive line, safety, linebacker, and defensive lineman is what they need. I think Ty Felton giving JJ another weapon to throw to at pick 38. He's very elusive, can make people miss, and get up on those possession throws. May have been a reach here. It was slated to go in rounds 4 or 5 in most other boards, but you can't. Giving the young kids some weapons will help. I feel like they go 9-8 here, even with them, starting JJ. I feel like he's definitely been a sponge over this last year, especially with his rehab, sitting on the bench behind Darnold and then going 14-3. Obviously, they're not going 14-3 again. I don't believe that in any case of the imagination. It's a pipe dream, but you got to look at it. He's definitely learning and getting stable in that Kevin O'Connell offense. So, didn't like the draft too much, but that I was saying Ty Felton was the best pick in my opinion. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of their draft either. I have them at a D grade for myself. I don't mind the Donovan Jackson pick. I just think it was a little bit early. I feel like any of those other teams that were behind them in round 1 wouldn't have gone Donovan Jackson, and you could have probably gotten him before the Dolphins traded up in round 2 for a guard. I just think, they could have gotten more assets out of that, considering they didn't have a 2nd, 4th, or 7th round pick. Just lackluster assets as far as that goes. My biggest takeaway or biggest pick for them would be Tyrion Ingram Dawkins in the 5th round. Edge for them. I think it really solidifies their defense once again, even though they need some secondary help still, which I hope they would have gone in. But again, 10-7 record. I think JJ McCarthy plays game manager enough with a great defense to get him to the playoffs.
I said 9-8. Again, wishing they address secondary, like you said. I agree with that one. I believe they'll stay competitive. I gave them a D grade in the draft, I believe. I think you said D as well. So, without further ado, sorry, Vikings fans, but you guys did not ace the draft. It is what it is. Not everybody can have a perfect draft. Everybody's lined up to pick at a certain pick, and when your player gets taken, sometimes teams will tend to scramble or tend to move down and reach up to grab somebody that they would normally grab later on, as a fear of somebody else stealing them too. So, we're all humans, human nature. Let's get on to those Patriots. How about them?
Yo,
One of the winners of the free agency. So let's go ahead and get on to them. They needed offensive line, defensive line, which is weird entering the draft because they signed Milton Williams, and it is what it is. I mean, I guess getting some extra help is always nice. Wide receiver, running back, and tight end. Will Campbell at pick 4 was by far the best one. I had a mock going to 7 at 7, I believe, in my drafts. If he slides over to guard, even it doesn't matter. I feel like he's fine. Tackle, guard, whatever. Just like Brandon Sheriff did at pick 5 for the then Redskins. He slid over to guard, and he had all pro season, so he was very well. He didn't really make it as a tackle. I think his arms were a little too small, but getting a guard for Drake May, getting that scrappy protection that he needs as a whole, dude's a stud. I can't really speak about the potential that he's going to bring to this team because nothing but good.
Yeah.
Especially if he slides in, you're not going to worry about his oversetting problem or anything like that. I feel like he'd be just fine at left or right guard. So we'll see.
Heck yeah, like that a lot. As far as my favorite pick, man, I have a lot. This is my favorite, and this is my favorite draft, right? So I'll go a couple. In all honesty, I think Jared Wilson out of Georgia, center in the back of the 3rd round, is an absolute steal, considering they just lost one of their captains for many, many years at center. Try to sign Garrett Bradbury to replace him, and David Andrews, him being. Just don't see that to be an inspiring move. So I think Jared Wilson can slide in very early. Braden Swinson in round 5 as well. Edge out of LSU, I think, is a fantastic pick. Adds a little more juice to their front, much needed. Also love Kyle Williams out of Washington State in the 3rd round. Think he's one of their best playmakers at this point. You look at a Stephon Diggs and kind of getting on the older side, you're going to need a boundary wide receiver to kind of combat that. I give them an A+ grade, and I think they vastly improved this year to 8 and 9. What do you feel like?
I say 7 and 10. Either way, they're still improving. You know, they went 4 and 13 last year, but 7 and 10. They had a really solid free agency, getting that help on the D line with Milton Williams. They addressed their needs quite efficiently, other than tight end, with better coaching and Vrabel's second time around. I feel like, you know, he learns from his mistakes when he's with the Titans. It's just they're piecing a nice franchise together. You know, I gave him an A grade. And to take that break real quick, Brandon, thanks for liking it live. Thanks for joining us on TikTok. Appreciate you, brother. And then also to the viewers on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitch, YouTube, and all that. Appreciate y'all for being here. You know, trying to get this podcast going and started. Let's do it together. Join our Discord up in the top above Peyton's head. Again, we talk about everything in there. We will get in and help us get it started. Have some fun. Yeah, but we can go ahead and move on to the Saints afterwards.
Let's get it.
Saints, one of the worst free agencies in my opinion that they've had. Let's see how they did in the draft. They needed quarterback, cornerback, offensive line, wide receiver, and defensive line. Kelvin Banks at pick 9, even though it may be a little high here. You know, another hopeful transition to guard. Don't really like what they've done this offseason. Kind of really just said that. Gave him a 3-14 record. It's really not much to say. I mean, what was that? Tyler's show. You said he was the most pro ready, but
I think he's the most pro ready, but he's also old as frick. So there's also that. It's like 25 years old.
Man, making me feel old.
Well, as a rookie,
yeah,
oldie.
3-14, and I gave him an F. They're probably my only failing grade of this draft segment. I think the rest are D's. I don't think I gave anybody else an F. Sorry, Saints fans, but I don't think this is not going to be your year. I already said it before. I said before I think the Panthers are running this division. I still hold that true, but we'll keep going into it. Hit the Giants next, maybe, man, or do you want to go ahead? Do you have anything to say about the Saints? I don't want to step on you.
I don't know. I don't have much at all. I would just say Devin Neal and Kelvin Banks are good picks. Really like Devin Neal in the 6th. 4 and 13 records, so really there with you. I think this is going to be top 3 worst teams, if not the worst team in the NFL. Give them a D+ grade, so give them a little more grace. But let's move on to the Giants.
Disagree, damn it. All right, they needed a quarterback. I mean, I'm sure they did. I honestly really don't think they needed a quarterback during the draft. Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson and Tommy DeVito. I mean, it's not the most flashiest quarterback room, but it's something that can get it done for at least this year. Fix your face, man. They could have just tagged for Arch, man. Oh yeah, Brandon, that's what they should have done. Cornerback, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, and wide receiver. Best pick, in my opinion, was 105, Cam Skattebo. Love this move for them. You know, good compliment to Tyrone Tracy. Many people were looking at their boards and hoping this guy fell to them. The Giants stopped that fall with that 3rd pick. Got them going 6 and 11. Quarterback room similar to Cleveland, like I explained to you off stream. They have to hash out what's really going on there. It looks really desperate drafting a quarterback. You know, knowing your regime's on the way out with Joe Sheen and Brian Dable. But hey, Malik Neighbors may actually get the ball and the targets he's asking for with Russell Wilson or even Jameis Winston throwing to him. Jameis Winston's going to throw 50 touchdowns and 50 interceptions in relief of Russell Wilson. Watch that. Throwing for 6,000 yards and breaking the records this season. Watch that.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw out a dart right away and just say, hey, we need someone to save our jobs, and it might not be Russ.
Yeah, but then what's the point? It just shows a whole lack of I'm not even gonna say a whole lack of ingenuity, but I'm gonna say desperation at its finest. Just I look for the defense to have a productive season. I'm going to give the Giants that one. I think Carter and Thibodeau is going to tear it up. They have at least a top 10 defense this year, in my opinion. Give them a B minus grade, 6-11.
Okay. I really like that. I was a little bit higher on their draft at a B plus. 7-10 record. I think Abdul Carter, again, probably the best player in this draft. Love that he went to the Giants there. Again, you get him, you get Thibodeau, you get Brian Burns, you get Dexter Lawrence, and now with additions, Paulson and Debo, Javon Holland in that secondary, I just think it's a wrecking crew.
Yeah, I feel like
Darius. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I feel like they're pretty set there. Abdul Carter can get pretty bendy.
Oh yeah,
pretty flexy around that corner. So look for him
Shot
to
to
wreck
get low.
look for him and Tibbs direct the pass. The rest of the NFC East, you guys got to have a good left and right tackle. I think that's why maybe Washington grabbed Connerly instead of an edge.
But yeah, could be why. And Darius Alexander, third round as well. Thought he could be possible first rounder. Thought they slam dunked there, so I'll give him B plus and a 7-10 record.
Yeah, good plug in DT. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It could be a lot better. Giants, this is your floor. Your ceiling could the ceiling could be Jackson Dart comes out and plays phenomenal and takes them up, Don't think they're winning the division, but they could sneak to a wild card and go 10-7. Who the hell knows? Like I said, I'm not an expert, but it's just what we analyzed over the offseason, what we're familiar with and what they're doing. It looks bad. I still think no matter what season they have, someone's getting fired, either Joe Sheen or Brian Dable. I don't think John Mara has the patience to continue on with this staff because the average fan is seeing desperation. Lord knows what he's saying after all the GMs and stuff that he's had to go through with Tom Coughlin and all that, Ben McAdoo with the head coaching position and all that. You just don't want to be irrelevant for so long. I mean, it's been since 2011 since our last Super Bowl. I'm not going to say anything being a Washington fan. You know when our last one was, but we're working on it. All right.
Blood in the water, and John Mayer is smelling it.
There you go. Getting a little sharky and testy up in New York. One of the New York teams need to be good, and I hope it's the Giants. Screw the Jets. But yeah, B minus 6-11, 105 Cam Scatterbo in my opinion. Let's move on to them Jets. The other New York team. The other New York team. All right. Armand Membel. I got him at 7, being the best pick. It's not the most sexy pick. Everybody I saw the Jets fan base. I saw them freaking scratching at the wall, saying, "Why the hell would they pick this guy?" Blah 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 blah. I feel like it was a good pick. It's not the most sexy. Somebody just to give Justin Fields some more time than hit Garrett Wilson. Something that Jets are not, they're not even expected to compete this year or next year, in my opinion. But I feel like if they want to start with some building blocks, Membel is the guy you start with. Get that guy in there and start building from the trenches like you should. Do it right and stop trying to pay old quarterbacks butt tons of money. Looking at you, Aaron Rodgers. Looking at you, Devontae Adams. Those were failures of an offseason. Don't do it again. And stay off the mat. Woody Johnson is too old to be on the Madden ratings, dude. Too damn old. Get off the freaking Madden ratings. 6-11 for me. Poorest roster decisions of the past. Like I said, with the Devontae and Aaron Rodgers don't help the Jets financially. This offseason, New York just isn't in a place the average free agent would like to go. Don't sip on the Madden ratings potion, Mr. Johnson.
Stupid.
You're gonna have oh man. Woody Johnson reminds me of Brandon because Brandon gets mad at his team. He's selling them right away. He's mad at his team. He's selling them damn things.
Get off my squad.
What you got about the Jets, man? Break them down for us.
I mean, I really like their first 3 picks, and I think that's what really solves their draft for them. Again, Membao, round 1, think that's a stellar pick. Mason Taylor, someone I've been growing towards liking a little bit more. He does have all the physical tools, but can he put it together at the NFL level? We're yet to see. And his blocking issues are a real problem. Probably some of the worst blocking out of any tight end in this draft, but him at the catch point and him in the open field might just make up all for that. And then my favorite pick, Azrae Thomas out of Florida State in the 3rd round. You get a super athletic corner.
I was watching Bleacher Report break him down.
Yeah.
Azrae Thomas.
I think it's a really solid pick. I think he's a round 2 guy. I give him a B- and a 6-11 prediction as well. So
I gave him a C+ and a 6-11. Yeah, I think I said that already. But
yeah, pretty close.
Might as well repeat it just so y'all know, just so y'all don't forget, because we're going over these records at the end anyways. We got the Eagles going in here, and being a Commanders fan, I did not let my bias enter into the chat. So let's go ahead and get. They needed a safety, defensive line, cornerback, edge, more or less just depth pieces, because obviously they have their starters, Reed Blankenship, and they got Jalen Carter in the inside and edge. They got their cornerbacks of the future with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and they said they needed edge and offensive line as well. Losing Mekhi Becton too doesn't really help matters, but it is what it is. I mean, he came from the Jets really with nothing, and they turned him into a superstar, which the Chargers have now. I like the picks that they have. I actually really don't have a favorite. Them having 10 picks in the draft. The only question mark is Kyle McCord in the 6th round. They have a competent raw backup in Tanner McKee. Don't really feel like the Eagles should have wasted the pick there when they could have added elsewhere. But other than that, solid draft. I gave them an A and a 12-5 record. Got them winning the division again. Sorry, Commanders fans, but we just got to be real with y'all. Sorry, everybody else, too. Maybe we went to deal with the Eagles in January, so they don't really have the same success as last year with that first place schedule this season, I believe. It may show cracks with their season backups, Milton Williams and Josh Sweat gone, but, they replaced those guys quite nicely, and Howie's been making deals. It's hilarious. I don't know if you've seen it on the, I don't know if it's like a mic'd up version of the draft coverage, but
the draft rooms, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, Howie called Adam Peters, and he's like, "Hey, buddy," and Adam Peters is like, "In division tax, nope." I'm not trading what not last year. Either way, everybody's gonna say that Washington lost that trade. I don't believe we did. We got Mikey Sainry still. He had a better regular season than DeJean, in my opinion. But at the same time, stats don't mean nothing when you have a Super Bowl pick 6. So
yeah,
I like. I feel like it's tit for tat there. So I like what we got. I'm not hating on it. I feel like both teams won that trade. I don't feel like anybody really lost. Eagles got their man. Washington got their man. So it is what it is. What do you think about the Eagles, and what's your breakdown and takes?
My grade and my record are the exact same. It's fine. It's fine.
I need to read.
Again, I love Jahad Campbell here. Nakobe Dean being out for majority of next year. You need someone to slide into that linebacker spot. Oren Burks over the Bengals.
I mean, they got Jelix Hunt too, so he can fill in.
Well, they got Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell now. I think that's plenty of juice.
I'm just saying, if they didn't get Jahad Campbell, Jelix Hunt probably could have taken the bill. So
for sure, they have so many rotational pieces. Again, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, some of the ones you didn't mention. Again, just loaded defense. So I like that they added more to that defense. The first 5 picks, actually. Andrew Makuba, one of my favorite safeties in this draft class as well, went to them in the back end of round 2. I think that's a stellar pick. I actually like the Kyle McCord pick in the 6th round. I think him or Will Howard would be perfect around that range.
I think they really needed it, though.
Not necessarily, but I think around that point, they're looking for their QB2, QB3-ish, like QB2 competition, and I don't necessarily mind it because they're looking for depth.
I don't like it. I think they should have drafted a kicker to replace Elliott, because that man over 50 yards has been kind of shaky this last season. So it is what it is. Eagles know what they're doing. I'm not a GM, but I'm just here to evaluate what I see, and I don't think that Kyle McCord pick was worth it. Like I said, the raw backup in Tanner McKee, who was, I believe, a rookie last year, right? And did pretty well in his start. Either way, I think they implemented an offense where anybody can thrive, kind of like how Cliff Kingsbury is doing in Washington. Like Marcus Mariota came in and hung 40 on the Panthers and came in and beat Dallas. I'm not saying they're system quarterbacks, but at the same time, Jalen Hurts. Let's just go into this debate real quick. I don't think Jalen Hurts is elite because I think Jalen Hurts, he's not expected to do as much as a Josh Allen. Like the video that I sent you earlier, we were talking about it, and yeah, he's a great quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He's nothing shy of it. But as far as elite status, I'm not going to put him there. His supporting cast was stellar, top tier.
Yeah, he doesn't have a more accurate arm than any of the elite guys, and again, the physical traits are nice. He's a solid runner, but again, best supporting cast in the league by far.
Can I quote Joe Buck being a little sus?
Do it.
He is powerful from the waist down. I bet he is.
All right. I bet he is crazy. All right.
I mean, there's them tush pushes. It doesn't work with anybody else. Jalen Hurts got that, that squatting speed, them legs, them thighs, kind of like them Saquads.
Yeah, no, his squat's insane. He squats over like 600, 650 by now, something insane like that.
Damn, that's hitting some of these 600-pound life peoples, man. I'm telling you.
Crazy athlete. But again, Jalen Hurts is a good guy. He's just...
He lives in Jersey, too. I think he lives in like Cherry Hill or something. It's closer to Philly, right outside. It's one of the bougier areas. But you heard about A.J. Brown's car getting stolen?
Yeah. And he got returned like with like that.
The way he threatened that guy, see what happens type thing. Like, over a car? You could buy another one, bro?
Yeah, but still, like, they don't want to... Regardless, when you're rich, you still don't want to waste money if you're smart. Which I take AJ Brown as smart, so.
Well, it is what it is. I give him an A, being a Commanders fan. 12-5 record to show no bias here. Just going to show, not being a moron. Every other podcast is like, oh well, I'm a Commanders fan, so I gotta make them 7-10 because the Commanders are going to the Super Bowl. Man, look, the Commanders got close. They got stomped out, and I hate to say it. The Eagles came to play. Washington, the receivers didn't. We kept fumbling. Eckler fumbled. De'Ami Brown fumbled. It is what it is. I think Jaden Daniels and Scary Terry came to play that game, and Frankie Louvu, but nobody else. But Eagles, hats off to y'all. Y'all winning the division in my book this year. Don't want that, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the Steelers, the other Pittsburgh team. They need a quarterback, running back, defensive line, wide receiver, and offensive line. I like the Yaya Black pick in the 5th round, man. 128th, solidifying the defensive line with the young talent, and that late of a pick, can only help that they can slow down the Ravens and the Bengals in the North with how strong they've gotten over the offseason. Gave them a B+, 9-8 record. It's not their year. I think overall, depending on who is starting, you don't get the job done consistently throwing to the top 2 crash outs in the league. Will Howard is definitely an insurance policy for when Myles Garrett jacks up Rudolph for talking smack again. I can see it. Mr. Concussed, how about another? What you got on them Steelers? What you think's the best pick in your opinion and your grades? Anybody in the chat, get your thoughts, man.
So the Steelers are always a hard one, right? Because they always go 9-8. But I can't count on the QB situation. I can't. I can't count on Aaron Rodgers signing there. I can't count on Mason Rudolph or Will Howard starting. It's disgusting. However, Caleb Johnson in the 3rd round is my favorite pick for him. I love the Derek Carman pick there at 21. I think that was awesome. Jack Sawyer in round 4. I think that's the right spot for him. Again, Yaya Black in the 5th round, like you touched on. Great pick there. Yeah. I like the Will Howard pick in the 6th round. I think they had a solid draft, all things considered. It's more the free agency that's messing with my head here. I'll give him a B grade and an 8-9 record.
Well, you see what Aaron Rodgers was doing to him, basically making him wait and all that crap, and then not even wanting to go. He wanted to go to the Vikings. Honestly, we were playing this game Green Hell, me and T on the VR. So we're going to play tonight. We're tripping out on some ayahuasca. I saw what Aaron Rodgers was seeing some little kid running in the woods and chasing after him. You having some revelations and stuff. It's crazy business. If y'all play meta, go check out the Green Hell. It's a game. I didn't really like it at first. It was. I'm not gonna say too complex. It felt like work, but you have to survive. You have to build things. You have to find help. You have to get out of a deserted jungle. It's a good game, but either way, Aaron Rodgers. Your place is in the woods drinking that ayahuasca. You might as well just stay there, buddy. Take the season off.
Yeah.
Maybe retire.
Retire. I just retire.
Yeah. Get the hell out of here, you bum. All right. I gave him a B plus. Like I said, 9 and 8. We talked about that already. You touched on it. You said 9 and 8 too, right?
8 and 9.
8 and 9. Yeah. You think Tomlin is his first losing season in a while?
I think if Mason Rudolph I'm not expecting either of them to start. I still think they're going to go out and get another guy. And I don't know. 8 and 9 as of now, but yeah, Mason Rudolph or Will Howard starting would move me to like a 7 and 10.
Poor thing. All right then. So you're holding out hope, really?
Yeah, but barely.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. All right, 49ers up next at 28. We're almost done, guys. Sorry to keep y'all so long, but it is what it is. I like Mikael Williams at pick 11. Slated in mine and other people's mantras at the end of the first round. I think we talked about this already. Me and you talked about it off stream. 49ers are looking to get back to relevancy, hitting defense early and often, while maybe drafting Brock Purdy's replacement in Curtis Rourke. I can't say that last name. Rourke. That's something right. You gotta speak from your throat with that one. 7 and 10 record, in my opinion. Remember how I said they were clawing back to relevancy? Yeah, no, not this year. Sorry about that. It had a whack off season. Really don't think that this draft could have really fixed Kyle Shanahan's and John Lynch's issues that they got going on. Their seat's definitely getting warm, in my opinion, if not, boiling. So the draft was fine. Gave him a B, but like I said, the offseason was just, you lost a lot of pieces. You lost Deebo Samuel, too, off the top of my head. I don't know. They're kind of reeling and dealing a little too much. Kind of like how I said the Texans were with Laramie Tunzel. You're kind of trying to find replacements there, and with other positions that were, not addressed in free agency. So what do you got? What you got, man?
Yeah, I love how hard they addressed the defense in this draft. I think they might have addressed it a little too much, leaving out a little bit of that offensive line help I think they needed. But I do think this 49ers team is going to be a lot healthier this year. I think CJ West in the 4th round, D-tackle, is honestly my favorite pick of theirs. But again, you could go with Alfred Collins. You could go with Mikael Williams. Wouldn't be mad at you. 8 and 9 record. I think they're a little bit healthier. I think they could be in the thick of things. However, at the end, it's a tough NFC. It's a tough NFL this year. All things considered, I think it's going to be a uber competitive year. You're getting more skill than ever. I'll give them a B as well. The Jordan James pick out of Oregon in the 5th round, I'm kind of intrigued by. I think that's solid. But outside of that, not really inspired with any of their offensive moves, like Jordan Watkins or Junior Virgin. So,
okay, I thought you said Jane the Virgin at first. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Best pick for the Seattle Seahawks coming up at 29 here. Needs entering the draft: offensive line, wide receiver. Really needed somebody to throw to outside of Cooper Kupp. Cornerback and safety, defensive line. Offensive line is probably the top need in my opinion, and they got that with Gray Zabel, I believe. But Nick Emenwari was probably my best pick. Deep zone needs to be cleaned up as far as his abilities there. I feel like he can definitely make an impact closer to the line of scrimmage as far as covering running backs and tight ends. He's been shown pretty good to do that. Top I feel like he can make an impact. You know, it seemed like a steal at the top of the third round. Wait, what? At the top of the third round seemed like a steal while getting that interior offensive line help that Seattle desperately needed. Maybe I had that wrong, but it is what it is. Gave him a B record, 8-9. Well, the record's 8-9. Getting Sam Darnold as a downgrade, shipping off your dead weight and Sam Howell was a good move. Just really shows the masterclass Adam Peters put in shipping him out at the right time, getting that third round pick for Howell. So a lot of moving parts and an updated offensive line. You know, I think they could take a step back this year as they start to gel, but you know, I don't see the Geno Smith for Sam Darnold tit for tat. If everybody saw what we saw in their playoff run when he was getting rattled.
Yeah. I'm a little bit higher on this draft than you. I actually love it. It's probably my second favorite draft. In all honesty, I gave him an A off rip. 8-9 record still remains the same, and I'll kind of dive into why. Gray Zabel, they started off the night great, and then you move into the next day with Nicky Manwari, Elijah Arroyo, and Jalen Milroe. I think those are all hits. I'm a big fan of Arroyo. I have him higher than a Terrence Ferguson. I have him higher than a Mason Taylor. In all honesty, he moves really fluid. A lot of the trends in tight ends recently have become an oversized wide receiver, but he's excellent at route running. He can block as well. I think that's a great pick out of Miami. And sleeper pick, Torrey Horton, Colorado State wide receiver in the 5th round, I think is a massive steal. I think that adds a lot on the boundary. Someone who really needs a boundary wide receiver after you look at the likes of Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of clogging up the middle of the field.
I've heard something, probably just some, angry podcaster blowing smoke, but they said that nobody at Colorado State was any good and we're talking about.
I think Torrey Horton was well worth it, but outside of that, there's not many guys. So, I mean, that's fair at least. But got to give some credit to Torrey Horton, in my opinion.
The diamond in the rough, man. You want to hit these Bucks, man? Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They hit the Bucks.
You want to start off with your best pick for them, in your opinion? What they got?
Yeah. Let me jump right into it. Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame corner. Round 2, I think that's a steal. They really needed secondary. I wish they addressed safety a little more in this draft. I don't really get the wide receiver picks, leaving my grade at a C for them. I love Emeka Egbuka, don't get me wrong. I just think is a little bit confusing of a destination. And I'll also give him an 8-9 record.
I think they were picking, as far as Emeka Egbuka, I mean, he's my top pick on them. Pairing him with Hall of Famer Mike Evans and getting Chris Godwin back. Even with the change in offensive coordinators, these guys are going to allow Baker Mayfield to really unleash hell on opposing defenses. But at the same time, the Egbuka pick, I believe, was more or less just a best player available in their eyes, probably up on top of their board, even though it wasn't necessarily a position of need because they really only needed a linebacker, cornerback, edge, safety, and offensive line. Gave them a C grade, I believe, and 9-8. Wish they would have done more to address their offensive line need, but as they progress the season, look for these guys to gel under the new coordinator. Look for them to really get that spark closer towards the middle to back half of the season. It may be even sooner than that, but I got them going 9-8. All in all,
fair enough. I don't know. I think they regressed with Liam Cohen being out of town. I think their defense got a little bit better as far as free agency and the draft goes. However, so. Fair enough.
If you got a lead on your defense, do it. Todd Bowles can really dial up those exotic blitzes. Ex-Redskin, that man's been putting us through hell for years. So it is what it is. It's like another Greg Williams in my opinion, but I think Todd Bowles is better with his scheme draw ups. Greg Williams is more or less the aggressive coach and that bounty gate guy that we all know and love. But yeah. Tennessee Titan time?
Tennessee Titan time.
Tighten up. Let's go. Quarterback, edge, wide receiver, linebacker, and safety with the needs heading into the draft. Obviously, Cam Ward, number one. They get their nonchalant franchise quarterback that they haven't had since Marcus Mariota, in my opinion. Could have addressed safety here in this draft, but they should be all right.
No reason.
They did?
Round 3.
Guess I missed it. See, we all make mistakes, guys.
All good.
But I gave them a B in their draft. I mean, I'll still hold it there. 10-7. Still have them winning the South. I have a feeling that they're going to surprise a lot of people and lean on that running game a lot more. Like I think you broke down the right side of their offensive line a couple streams ago, and their running back tandem now at Cam Ward, like we predicted, like everybody else predicted.
Yeah, we got that Lloyd Cushenberry side,
Pushing.
J.C. Latham, and Kevin Zeitler on that right side. So really talented pairing.
Gave him a B.
Gave him a B with the 10-7.
E for booking it for the division. Plane tickets for the playoffs, baby.
Fair enough.
All right.
Our biggest record disagreement since the Detroit Lions, in all honesty. Again, I was with you on the Tennessee Titans until I cooled down a little bit, recognized, the lack of playmakers, so to speak, in my opinion, and then the rookie quarterback, of course.
Yeah, they did lose some with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Kind of hurts, but at the same time, I mean, Calvin Ridley is your number one, I believe, right?
For sure, but I think he's better suited as a 2. I think they address wide receiver fine. Elikeo Manor is a great pick out of Stanford in the 4th round. My favorite pick is Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State in the 3rd. I think he's a great ball hawk. I think it's a really underrated safety class. I'm coming to like a lot of these safeties. So good on them. And then excuse me if I'm pronouncing this name wrong. Oluwafemi Oladeo. Again, great edge out of UCLA as well. So I got him at an A- actually on the draft. I think they did great, but a 7-10 record. I think eventually they will get there in a weak division. However, I can't see the jump from 4-13 all the way up to 10-7.
Raiders did it, but it is what it is. And we had a weaker supporting cast, in my opinion. I mean, Terry McLaurin is a number one. Definitely taking him over Calvin Ridley every day. I mean, we have Zach Ertz. But at the same time, they could do it. I mean, maybe not straight to division champs, maybe a wild card or something this year.
But Jaden Daniels also is a huge factor in that. I think Jaden Daniels is hands down better than Cam Ward will be.
Yeah, but he's also the reason why our offensive line was graded as best as they were this past year, because they were butt, man. When Biotis was hurt, Michael Dieter was in. It was cheeks, man. I'm gonna tell you, Jaden Daniels really kept those games going by scrambling for his life. But at the same time, it was weird. So when he scrambles, when it was definitely a passing situation, he definitely got his yards. But on this quarterback design runs, I've noticed it didn't work out too well in most situations. And I could just tap that off to a bad blocking line at that point, and just a weak line in general. Because Zach Ertz is going to get down there and block. Terry McLaurin is going to get down there and block. De'Ami Brown, being physical, is going to get down there and block. And Luke McCaffrey too. Luke McCaffrey is a decent blocking receiver. So it's at the same time, the guys on the outside can do it for you. It's just your line just couldn't get it done. And I can't blame them with Andrew Wiley. We're going to get into the Commanders next because it's the last team.
Do it now. Do it now.
All right, fine. Yeah, do it now.
Do it now.
All right, so you graded them a little harshly, but we'll go ahead. You go ahead for them first, and I'll save mine for the last. But
exactly,
they needed edge, cornerback, wide receiver, safety, and offensive line. Take it away, sir.
First of all, I'll start with my 2 favorite picks. I'll go Trey Amos, and I'll also go Kane Medrano, round 6 linebacker, UCLA. I think he's a steal in round 6. I had a round 3-4-ish grade on him. I thought, I think they snapped there. But again, Josh Conerly, a little too rich in my opinion. I do like him as a prospect. However, again, when you're moving a guy from his position, especially in the left tackle, right? Yeah, a little bit harder to justify, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of Jalen Lane, who you seem to like, in my eyes. And then Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret in round 7, when you could have gotten like a Damian Martinez type. I just feel like you're missing out on a little bit of value there. A little bit below average draft class for me. I give them a D plus and a 10-7 record prediction with a harder, slate on their schedule. But I think, they're great and they'll be vying for another playoff spot this year.
All right, for sure. Like you were saying, I like Jalen Lane in the 4th round. Dude's a speedster. Take the top off of defense. Having Terry, being that main number 1 stay. You got Deebo Samuel on the quick screens and gadget plays. I feel like, Jalen Lane's a good fit here. Maybe taking Luke McCaffrey's spot. Maybe replacing De'Ami Brown on the outside as well. Who knows where he's going to line up, but at the same time, speedster down the sideline to blow a top off of defense, have that breakaway speed is something we haven't had since Deshaun Jackson back in like 2016-ish. 10-7, I agree with that. Potentially a wild card here, depending on how the other divisions shake out. Tougher schedule with us getting to the playoffs last year. Not a first place schedule though, so that's good. Heard an Eagles podcast are breaking it down 97.5 The Fanatic, talking about how the Commanders have less playoff caliber teams this year on their schedule compared to the Eagles. But hey, the Eagles also did go to the Super Bowl. They did win. They were first place. They're champs. So obviously it's due justice for them to have the harder schedule. Who knows how Dalen? I keep messing this crap up. Who knows how Jaden Daniels and company will perform this coming season? Like to think that they improved based on what we had last year, especially with a lot of key pieces coming back and getting some new ones like Laremy Tunsil. I like the Josh Connerly pick. At the same time, it does look a little desperate because the Giants got Abdul Carter, and then you got Donovan Ezeraku going to the Cowboys, I believe, and a lot of people just getting better on the defensive line. We need to hold up. Moving him from left tackle to right tackle may be an issue, though. But I heard apparently they're trying to swing Brandon Coleman inside. And Wiley is actually going to go inside at right guard to replace Cosme starting the year with a torn ACL. So a lot of movement on that line. We'll see how it performs. I like the addition of Cross K Merritt. I mean, I saw some explosive tape from him, but at the same time, you're going to see a lot of good tape coming off these players, especially if you're watching Bleacher Report. Not really going to dive into the negatives with them too much. Sorry to hit you out, Bleacher Report, but it is what it is. Just going to tell it how it is. I wish they would have definitely drafted an edge, especially with that loaded NFC East that's only gotten stronger, but I believe in Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. Also wish they would have addressed the safety a little bit more with the loss of Jeremy Chin going to the Raiders. Will Harris, I don't think is going to cut it. Definitely no Jeremy Chin. We'll see what happens. Maybe Gabe Taylor can sneak in there, but I highly doubt it. He's not as strong. He's too small to be a strong safety. Maybe backup nickel slot corner. If he's lucky, if he gets that deal. I gave him a C+. I mean, I'm going to be a little harsh on the Commanders too. 5 picks, didn't do any trades. They said hell no to the Eagles. They said hell no to a couple people to trade out of 61. They wanted Trey Amos. That made their pick. Now Jonathan Jones doesn't have to start. It can be Trey Amos. Mikey Samer still can go inside. You get a Marshawn Lattimore on the other side. But at the same time, if Amos isn't ready, then Jonathan Jones will step right up. It's kind of feeding into what they're trying to do and making that decent pass defense even better, because they were pretty good against the pass last year. It was just their rush defense was bad and their edge contain was bad. Don't like the fact that they brought Cleveland Farrell back. He definitely lost contain a lot as far as the edge goes, but they got to have something planned. More exotic blitzes, more men up on the line, more risk taking, I guess. I don't know what they're going to change up on defense this year, but if it's anything like how it was in the NFC Championship, we're in for a long year as far as on that side of the ball. But maybe this team will surprise me again, like they did last year, and they'll buy into that brotherhood and get to it and get them to that 10-7 record. I feel like Jalen Lane fits nicely here and gets that Deshaun Jackson type of blow the top off of a defense and get other people open, because outside of Terry last year, even he had his problems getting open with his double teams. A lot of the other receivers like Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown, Noah Brown, they had trouble getting open. Noah Brown was the pass interference king last year, but just really like them. Really like them going into next year. I mean, you gave them a little bit of a harsher grade. I understand why with the Josh Connerly, but I believe that I believe he'll fit in. And I believe he'll make that switch. I mean, shoot. Good guy there. That's all I got to say about the Commanders. Just hope Jaden Daniels and them get back to the glory that they were last year. But hey, I mean, it's been. I hope he's bulked up too. Jaden did.
Yeah,
Maybe
just a
hopefully a
tad
little.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
Give him like 15, 20 pounds. I think that'd be perfect of just muscle.
But so we did our 2-part draft analysis.
Yep.
Now it's time to get on to. Hang on a second. To the records. Got the
Again, these are
records.
subject to change with schedules dropping, et cetera, et cetera.
These are mine. Peyton, obviously, he has some difference in records and certain opinions. So, at least this is what I put together. Let me get you all over so you can look at it. All right. So, we're looking at it now. I got the AFC East, just so anybody who hasn't been following, hopefully y'all can see that. If not, maybe I can like zoom that in just a tad. Make that a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's make that a little bit bigger. That should be good. I can see just fine. I mean, I have one eye, so it's whatever. AFC East, I got the Bills in first place at 11-6, Patriots at 7-10, Dolphins at 7-10, Jets at 6-11. AFC South, I got the Titans at 10-7, winning the division. Jaguars and Texans duking it out for 9-8 in second place. Got the Colts at 7-10. Then I got the AFC West with the Chargers winning the division by a 2-game swing, which is probably crazy for some people. 12-5 for the Chargers, 10-7 for the Chiefs, 10-7 for the Broncos. That may flip-flop. That may change depending on how things go. If Mahomes starts out cold like he did kind of a little bit last year, then, I expect the Chiefs not to win those close games like they were last year. Raiders are 8-9. They improved drastically off of their performances last year. So AFC North, in my opinion, 10-7 for the Ravens. They win with that record. Steelers are 9-8. Tomlin gets another 500 season. Bengals are 9-8. Browns are 6-11 with that quarterback chaos they got going on. I see Shedeur Sanders definitely starting this year at some point. Apparently, Peyton broke the news that Joe Flacco was apparently going to be their starter.
Yeah, as of right now, their depth chart is Joe Flacco, then Kenny Pickett, then Dylan Gabriel, then Shedeur Sanders. It's just a gross room.
Dylan Gabriel over that's crazy. Deion Sanders not happy about it. Shiloh fired Deion Sanders and got Drew Rosenhaus.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry, Dad. And the crazy thing is, after he fired Deion Sanders and got Drew Rosenhaus, that's when he signed on with the Bucs. So
good on him.
How about it? Drew Rosenhaus is getting people money since whenever. I remember he was Kirk. I think he's Kirk's agent too. NFC East, the NFC Beast division, 12. Everybody's winning except for no. Cowboys 7-10, Giants 6-11, Commanders 10-7, Eagles 12-5. Don't feel like Eagles go 14-3. I feel like with the Commanders' harder schedule and their lack of upgrading at edge, they're just 10-7. It's going to be a little bit harder for them, but hey, they may surprise some people. They may end up going 12-5. Eagles could drop to 10-7. Who the hell knows? It is what it is. With the harder schedules, they can flip flop. NFC South, which is the one I know Brandon's waiting for. 11-6 Panthers winning the division by a 2-game swing. Bucks are 9-8. Falcons are 6-11, and Saints are 3-14, having an abysmal year. I believe it's worse than last year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty. But
they're 5-12 last year?
I don't remember. See, I don't keep up with the Saints like that. I'm not a Saints fan. I don't know. I just glance over it when I was looking at the draft stuff, so I didn't see. I should have took that down just for reference. Also got the NFC West with the Rams winning 11-6. 2-game swing, 9-8 for the Cardinals, 8-9 for the Seahawks, and 7-10 for the Niners. Pretty close to back up the champions. I feel like the Rams definitely get their revenge on the Eagles at some point and not let Saquon gash them for 70-yard touchdowns the next time around. But we'll see. With their additions, I like what they did. So NFC North is the last division to go over at this point. We have the Bears. We have the Packers at. Well, the Bears are probably going to shock some people because I have them at 11-6. Ben Johnson's first year, all the upgrades he made in the offseason, the perfect offseason, in my opinion. Ben Johnson's going to work and cooking it up. Packers are 10-7, backing it up. Vikings 9-8 with JJ McCarthy in his first year. We'll see how that goes. And the Lions probably the worst, the most drastic, I should say, in our opinions. I got him going 7-10. I think you had him going 10-7. So
yeah, 3 teams going worst to first would be an absolute shock to me.
Yeah, and in a lot of these records, I was kind of doing these as we go, not really looking at the other teams in the division at that point in time. So when I started putting things together, hang on a second, let me just take this off. When I was putting things together, I've noticed there is 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 divisions itself with ties in the second or third place spots. So like the 9-8s and yeah, I mean, I just
really
came
the
out
AFC side, the whole AFC side, the whole AFC. I just noticed that. That's kind of crazy,
right though. But yeah, nothing against the AFC, but it's kind of it's a little harder to predict in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not gonna say I'm not just gonna sit here and say the Titans are gonna go 14-3, and the Colts are gonna go they're gonna go 2-14 or 2-15 or something crazy like that. I feel like these teams can all be decent enough to go 9-8, 7-10, whatever. But this is just how it went, and it's weird how it kind of fell this way. So
yeah, I mean it's gonna be a competitive league. It's gonna be awesome.
All right, y'all. So next week we're going to be in talks about what the stream will be. So come in and check in with us. We'll talk about it to go over what OTAs will look like and mini camps. But for right now, it's to be determined. Join our Discord and we'll let y'all know. But as far as that go, we'll be back here next Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys have a good one. Jersey Desert Boys, Peyton and Alex out. See y'all next week.
Peace.